Good day everyone, it's Caitlin and today we are making our skirt supports for the wedding dress. Alright, welcome, let's get started. So we are in our new, temporary place. So at my grandmother's house living with her, and we're going to make a petticoat and a hoop for my wedding. So we're going to use the same fabric that we used last month for the chemise and the month before for the drawers. It's just Donald Trading's Pimatex cotton, and I have a lot of it. I'm hoping that one end is already ripped. I don't think so. It is not. No, that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and rip this end. And I'm sure I can find some use for this. So I typically, when I have really long yardages of like white cotton or brown cotton, lining fabrics basically, I always have one end is my ripped end and one end is my cut pieces out end. Because like for facing, skirt facings and petticoats, I will rip them because it makes a very straight edge and it's easier than cutting on a solid fabric. On the other end, if I'm cutting lining pieces or anything like that, and that way I'm not wasting fabric constantly trying to straighten one edge. I always have one edge that's ripped and one edge that's for cutting. So I'm going to make this 2 panels wide. So what we're going to do to avoid having a center front seam, I'm going to have one whole panel and then I'm going to cut one panel in half. And so I'm going to have one big panel and then half panels on the sides, and then those half panels come together in the very back. That way there won't be a center front seam there will be a center front seam, which is more personal preference than anything else. But here we go. So what I figured is I want a 30-inch long petticoat. Between the top ½ inch going into the waistband and the hem, I want the hem to be about 2-ish inches. So that's about 3 inches. So 1/2 inch at the top, 1/2 inch fold over, and then the 2-inch hem. So there's 3 inches. I want 3 ½ inch tucks, which for every tuck you need to double the measurement. So I want ½ inch tucks, and each tuck is going to take 1 inch of fabric. So I need to add 3 inches for that. And so that gives me 36 inches, I think. I think I've done my tuck math right. So we're going to cut 32 36-inch long panels. First, I'm going to cut this panel in half, or rip it in half, more likely. Okay. So what I think I'm going to do, actually what I know I'm going to do, because I know what I'm doing here, the 2 ripped panels, I didn't have to rip them all the way. I could have done a placket. Oh well, that's what I get for sewing late at night. We are going to run and fill this seam up until at least the point where I'm going to have the opening. And that way on the other 2 seams, because these are selvages, I don't actually have to finish them off in any way. Let's see, waistband. I feel like this should be pretty long. I want a 1-inch waistband. That's 1 inch on the front, 1 inch on the back, and ½ inch on either side for turnover, so that's about 3 inches. I'm sure it's wide enough. I have a waistband now. So first step is going to be sew the panels together. This shouldn't take very long. I think most of our time today is going to be making the actual crinoline. So we're here at the ironing board, and we are going to, I stitched the seams together as we discussed. I have not felled the back seams, but I did stitch together the back seam. I just haven't felled it. And I stitched the side seams as discussed. Wait, am I doing this right? I am not, because usually it doesn't actually matter, but I prefer to press towards the back. We're going to iron this to be felled, but let me go ahead. Yeah, let's go ahead and cut this now. Why not? This just cuts down the bulk. I'm only cutting one side of the seam. This is the one with the raw edges, remember? What I need to do is actually two things on this seam. I need to feld this in, but I need to hem these edges, the top edges. Oh, that one doesn't stand up. Oh, wait, that's weird. Okay, first time using this iron, so I'm expecting to use my old iron. And it does not work like my old iron. So yeah, I'm just taking that raw edge. Well, first I'm ironing with the large side down on top. And then I'm just kind of folding over the raw edge so that both raw edges are tucked up underneath, and we'll sew against that seam and have a nice finished edge there. Oh, other thing I forgot to mention. So, because I am working on the hoop next, I went ahead and decided, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and pull out all my supplies for the hoop, which ended up being a really good idea because I found extra edging. So on the chemise and drawers, we put a nice little embroidered edge. And I thought I'd only purchased enough of that edging for the chemise and drawers and the upper petticoat that we're going to do. So, next month actually. And I didn't think I made any, I bought enough for this petticoat. Well, I was looking through and I said, oh wait, I do have enough. And I actually have a little bit more than enough for this. I'll even have enough to do a corset cover at some point if I decide to, that I need one for the set. So that worked out incredibly well in my favor. So instead of the 3 tucks, so if you remember the chemise and drawers, we had 5 tucks. There was a large tuck, 3 smaller tucks, and then a large tuck. I was only going to do the 3 smaller tucks for this petticoat. So take up some of that fold, because remember we had 2 inches allotted for the hem, and we have now an inch wide edging. So to take up some of that width, we're going to go ahead and do the 5 tucks. And that's going to take up some of the width or extra length, but it's not going to take all of it. So I'm not actually going to really be concerned about the extra. It hits mid-calf, and 2 extra inches is not going to make that much of a difference. So it's just going to be 2 inches longer than, mid-calf, which is not a big deal. It's still plenty short for petticoat. It's not going to be seen under anything. So I'm not concerned about it, and we're just going to roll with it. Alright, so working on tucks right now. So it's been a while since we talked, but we did see where we put the lace on, or the edging, and we're doing the same tuck system that we did, of course, with the chemise and drawers because it's a matching set. So large tuck, 3 smaller tucks, large tuck. So I'm working on the very last tuck. And then we get to sew on a waistband. So I have the waistband almost attached. I'm just working on the last little bit to get this all gathered up. I gathered it by machine, mostly because once you take the gathering threads out, you can't actually tell if it was gathered by machine or by hand. So it's one of the things I will cheat on. Sometimes. I don't do it for 1830s stuff, obviously. I do all my 1830s and earlier, 1840s and earlier by hand entirely. But yeah, so that is now attached to a waistband. I'm just going to run that across my machine. I know that my Singer, the antique one, will not take this thick of a fabric, so I am going to have to do this on a different machine. Alright, petticoat is done, so we are working on the crinoline. So I found the directions for my cage. I had to go into the storage unit, and then I realized, you know what, that's really not going to help me at all because I'm doing an elliptical cage. And I talked to my friend Susan about exactly what shape I need to do and what size I need to do, and she said, you just need the red hoop. I was like, oh, my red hoop. Yeah, that does give me an elliptical shape. Duh. That hoop is a little small for me, so we are going to remake this, and I might send on the red hoop to Susan or somebody who maybe needs an elliptical hoop and doesn't have one. So, I went ahead and I'm using her hips just because this is closer to my waist size than this is. So now I have it tied. I'll probably end up tying it in the wedding too, instead of doing the buckle, because I realized I didn't buy a buckle and I don't have time to order one. So I do for the wedding, just not for the bridal shower. Just not for the bridal portraits. But she's gonna tie, she's probably still gonna tie. The red hoop ties, and I've never bothered to get buckle, so why should I now? Anyway, so this tape is all actually special twill tape. I got it from Needle and Thread. They reproduce it based on the original cage that they have. So this part is, here, let me just move y'all closer. So this part, you see the little design there. This actually flips up and it's double layer. So I can sandwich these in between and just sew over them. Isn't that nifty? And then this is actually very specially designed. You see the little design in it, but also there are little holes in there that I can stick the hoops in. So it's very special twill tape. Anyway, I just took the elliptical measurements from the red hoop and I measured the front tabs and the back tab and the side tabs. And I also made 2 other tabs that kind of go diagonally into the back one, but I'm not going to do those yet. So I think what I'm going to do right now is start measuring the hoop rings. I'm going to do that from the bottom and go up. I think it's going to be the easiest way to do it. And I have the hoop here, so I'm just going to do those. And I think I'm going to do at least as many rings as are in that hoop. But I do know that those rings are spaced out more than these are. So I don't know if I'm going to do every other one or if I actually am going to do every one, in which case I'm going to need to divide the numbers and get new measurements. But we'll see when we get to that. Right now I'm just going to start getting the hoop rings cut out. Alright, so it kind of looks like a hot mess. But these are the wires going in. So I have another one to put in. I'm doing it every 3 little holes, which is definitely not ideal, but that's about the measurement of my current hoop. And I don't have a ton of extra wires, so we're kind of working with what I have. And let me get you all close up so you can really see the wire going through. So I'm just counting 1, 2, 3. Alright, so I've just been counting 1, 2, 3. And I've been putting tape on the ends just because it makes it a little bit easier to go through the holes. And kind of use my finger to flip that over. And it slides right on through. And there's some little copper things that we're going to use to keep it where they need to be. Because right now they're clearly not exactly where they need to be. I'm just getting them through the loops. Alright, I have about, I think, 2 more rings I can fit in there. And then we're going to start, I guess, moving them around to where they're more even, closing off the ends so they're not just sticking out, doing all that sort of fun stuff. Alright, so it's starting to look a lot more like a hoop. So what I'm doing at this point is I have all the rings in, and I'm essentially just trying to even them out a little bit. And then when I have these ends, I have these little copper tubes, and we're just going to fit them right on top. And do the same thing with this side. Oops. And use my little crimpers and just crimp it. At this point, I want these not to slide, basically. So move it a little bit to the side, not that much. And I have these tiny little copper pieces. Y'all can't even see that at all. And they go on either end here. And they get crimped just on either end of every tape. And that keeps them in place. And that's basically what I'm doing now. So I'm just kind of going all the way around and doing that. I do need to buy more. There's these little metal things. And I have 1 left. And I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need 6. So I'm going to see if I can find these or something similar to them. Basically, I just need to keep this from coming out. And, you know, keep that end from being pointy. So I'll look for something comparable tomorrow. But really, this is not quite the last step because I do need to put tapes in the back to help support this because it's supposed to sit more like that. And then of course we need to sew the waistband and all that. So it's getting there, but yeah, it's getting there. That's all I got to say about it. But, it doesn't take very long. They're not difficult. It's just a little tedious. Alright, so we're going to finish the hoop. I have a 2-inch strip of leather that is not cut straight, but it's going to work just fine. And then I have these pieces from needle and thread. So I needed 18, and I thought I counted 18, so I told the lady I didn't need any more of these. Turns out I only have 17. So we're going to be missing one. I decided I don't care. But I did one side, so it just covers up that end. You can see I'm missing one right there. So, move this around. Let's see where I started here. Right in that edge. Okay. And now I'm working backwards from what I was working on, so it feels very strange, but basically I used the ice pick. That's what this is. This is an ice pick. Because I don't know where my awl is. So I'm borrowing my grandmother's ice pick. Okay, got that through. It's going through, you know, the leather, the tape, and then the other piece of leather. Or the other side of the leather. And I'm going to just make those a little bit bigger. It helps if these pieces are pushed together just a little bit. Stick it on through. Hope we get both ends in there, not just one. There we go. Okay. Take this and twist those out. And that way it stays. And this is going to hide the fact that I didn't have the period accurate pieces at the end. I didn't have enough of those. And we're just going to keep going like that and basically get it all the way up done, and we'll be done with the hoop. We can look good. Everything all together, you know, layer by layer. I found the 18th brad. I was sitting on it. And I actually thought I stood up and like looked, but apparently I didn't look good enough. So there really was 18. I did not miscount. Alrighty, now we're done. Alright, and there's our petticoat all put on. I think it's beautiful. I love how it matches these chemise and drawers, and the tucks look great. And there's a few spots where they're not exactly even, but given the nature of a petticoat that is A, underwear, and B, it's so gathered, you really don't notice those discrepancies. So it's actually, it works really well. I do need to, of course, iron it before the big day, but I think it's going to be good for the bridal portraits because no one's going to be seeing them. But I think before the big day, I am going to iron it. Let's go ahead and put the hoop on over. And there's the hoop. So it looks quite lovely. I mean, it's not going to have that like V shape to the very front once I'm on it, or once it's on me, I guess, because my waist is just slightly bigger than her hips by about 2 inches. So it's going to give me a little bit more of a straight shape on that. But other than that, I think it looks pretty good. There's a couple rings that are smaller than they should be, especially you can tell from the side. But I have noticed, kind of right like in that middle section, like right there. But I have noticed that once I have the petticoats on the over it and even the skirt, it disappears. So I'm not concerned about it whatsoever. But I am happy with how the rings seem to be holding up. I haven't had a lot of issues with rings coming undone, which is always a good thing. But yeah, let's go ahead and put the petticoat on over that. Once again, it needs to be ironed, but it'll work for the time being, and it goes over the hoop really nicely. I did purposely not make it train in the back. So you can see it's even all the way around, which is exactly what I wanted. Just because, I mean, yes, you kind of do want a trained petticoat to keep the silk from getting dirty, but because I faced, so I actually already made the skirt. as I'm filming this part right now, I've made the skirt. So I made the facing of the skirt much wider on the train. That way the silk's not getting dirty. It's a cotton piece that I can take out and reapply as needed once it gets dirty. So I don't actually need a trained petticoat for this gown. And this right here will work just fine. And it just makes it a little bit easier that it's, I can use it for other dresses that aren't trained. So if I did like an 1865 event where I needed a petticoat, like a nice petticoat, but I didn't want to train, this is still function for that. It's because it's even all the way around. So I wanted this to be multi-purposeful, or, you know, multi-purpose. But yeah, I mean, I love the shape of it. I think the shape turned out really well. Especially, can you see it now? Yeah. So it's fuller in the front than my red hoop, which is what I wanted. And it's not an overly sized hoop. Like, you don't feel like you're in this giant princess modern ball gown. It's softer because it doesn't poof out immediately at the hips. It's a soft, it's not even a bell shape. I mean, it's elliptical, but it's not a, it's just softer. And I like the shape a lot better than, I like all elliptical shapes much better than actual hoop shape, but, you know, okay, I guess not really actual hoop shape. What we think of the hoop skirt shape, like the giant circle, I like the elliptical shape better. It's softer and it's just prettier. And I think it looks really well with a train as well, a train skirt over it. It just kind of lends itself to a train that shape. So I'm quite happy with how it turned out. I think it looks really similar to the gown I was copying as far as shape. It's a little bit bigger, but not overly so, and I kind of like the size that it is. So I'm quite happy with it. Anyway, that is basically the underskirt. So y'all get to see, and I'm done with the skirt now. I'm working on the bodice. But y'all get to see the skirt next month. Thank you for joining me today as we made our wedding skirt supports. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe to the channel. If you are interested in staying around and watching the whole wedding ensemble unfold, make sure that you hit that little bell notification so you're notified anytime I upload a new video. And have a fantastic week, and I'll see you back here on Monday.